Hello, everyone. Welcome to MIT's Energy Innovation Webinar Series. My name is CJ Guo. I'm a program director with the Office of Corporate Relations at MIT. Our office has a great Industrial Liaison Program and a vibrant startup change platform through which we connect many of the world's most innovation-centric companies to MIT's leading edge research, technologies, and innovation ecosystem. Energy, especially low carbon energy transition, is a very important part of that ecosystem. Now, in this unprecedented crisis, as the virus pandemic impacts us all globally, we are intensifying our forward-looking engagement with the industry in technology development, innovation, and problem solving. That's why the Industrial Liaison Program and the MIT Energy Initiative has been offering jointly this Energy Innovation Webinar Series. As the fourth session today, we're going to focus on the scaling up challenges of energy systems, because we know that for any technology to make a real impact, it has to be economically deployed at scale. And there are lots of challenges during that process. Today, we have assembled several leading researchers from both MIT and the industry to discuss this important domain, to share their insights with us. We hope through those engagement, we'll all be better able to navigate these difficult times for a sustainable energy future after the current crisis. We surely hope you will engage actively today by submitting your questions, by clicking on the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can during the session. Now, with that, I'd like to introduce today's session moderator, Professor Bob Armstrong. Bob is the Chevron Professor of Chemical Engineering, and he is the Director of MIT Energy Initiative, the largest energy program in the Institute. Without mentioning his long list of accomplishments, I just mentioned that he has been elected to the National Academy of Engineering and the American Academy of Arts and Sciences. And his own research is on pathways to a low carbon future, engaging actively both with academics and the industry. So to me, it's no better person than him to chair today's session. So with that, please welcome Professor Bob Armstrong. Bob, take over, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CJ. And thank all of you in the audience for tuning into this. It's great to have you on this webinar. We have very exciting, as CJ mentioned, very exciting lineup of experts from industry and from MIT to talk about what I think is one of the really essential parts of the energy challenge, and that's how do we get from here to there? How do we scale up the energy system? So just a word about the MIT Energy Initiative. As CJ mentioned, it is a cross-MIT initiative. We were launched in early 2007 as MIT's hub for energy, linking across all 5 of MIT's school and now MIT's college to bring together faculty expertise, researchers, students across the domains of innovative technology, understanding systems integration, as well as policy and economic issues to work together to solve the world's great energy challenge. We facilitate, in addition to linkages across the campus, so multidisciplinary programs, an important part of our work is to link with other sectors, with government, with NGOs, and very importantly, with the industrial sector. It is, at the end of the day, industry who's going to have to do the heavy lifting of actually building out these energy systems of the future and operating those. And so that's a very key part of MITei's engagement with other parts of the energy ecosystem. And we're really delighted to have some outstanding experts from industry with us today, and I'll introduce those shortly. A key piece of what we do, we launched back in 2015, late 2015, or at least announced a set of low carbon energy centers. The goal there is to focus. We didn't necessarily launch new activities. We were working on low carbon energy from our outset, but to highlight what we do there and to use the low carbon energy centers as vehicles to bring together um, different sectors, so as ways to bring into conversation industry from different parts of the energy space, with faculty from the multidisciplines that I mentioned a little bit earlier. And so when we announced these low carbon centers, we announced 8 initial centers that we would work to set up. Some of those are focused on specific technologies. Carbon capture, utilization, and storage was actually the first to launch, and it's a very robust center. A solar center reflecting the importance we see and the stage we saw solar at when we launched. Storage to deal with intermittency issues and to make the system provide services when we need it. And materials that are important to energy across all different applications. To complement those, we've also stood up a set of, or in the process of standing up a set of centers focused on energy systems, recognizing that it's important but not sufficient to have these technologies like solar or storage of one kind or another. But those all have to work together as part of an energy system to provide the services that people want or industry wants when they need it. And there we have an electric power system center, which integrates power generation technologies with different use categories. A mobility systems center, which began with a focus on light duty vehicles, now has expanded to include heavy duty trucking and freight as well. Again, a global focus center. A new center focused on energy for all, or energy for developing countries in particular, people who don't have adequate access today to energy. And then last but certainly not least, it is our newest center, which is energy at scale. And that's one that frankly is the focus of today's webinar. And it recognizes what we see as the importance of not just developing the technologies and understanding the systems, but how do we work with our colleagues in industry and government to move that change to scale. It's a challenge that's not quite like anything else that we do in the world. The scale of energy is enormous. We use today energy at a rate of about 18 terawatts, 155,000 terawatt hours. That involves enormous capital investments, infrastructure that stretches around the world, and challenges at the scales we practice energy, materials availability to provide for those infrastructures. And as I mentioned, it's a globally coupled system, and that raises its own challenges. So a lot of questions that I hope we touch on during the webinar today. Issues like, what do we have in our toolbox today to address the scale up of solutions to the energy challenge? What sorts of policies and incentives are we going to need to get there? What key technology or policies are not available yet. What do we need to do there by way of innovation moving forward? And then finally, how are those technologies, policies going to work together to provide, as I mentioned earlier, the kinds of reliable, robust, resilient, secure supplies of energy services that communities and industry expect. So to delve into those issues, we have a great group with us today. We have Sergei Paltsev from MIT. We have Jack Jacoby from MIT, and we have an outstanding panel from industry comprising Claudia Schaefer from Dow Chemical, Augustine Delgado from Iberdrola, Tom Fitzgerald from National Grid, and Vijay Swarup from Exxon Mobil.